Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're kind of talking about a serious topic here in the video game world, and it's kind of is gaming journalism dead? Lack of integrity in gaming journalism these days. It's just kind of running rampant, and it's more of dare to be first than dare to be right, kind of thing like that. But to give you a background on this topic, over the weekend, legitimate gaming journalist Gene Park from the Washington Post. You may have also seen him on what's the podcast called? It's done by Colin Moriarty's podcast, Sacred Symbols. Gene Park, he's an actual gaming journalist. He brought to light this weekend the lack of journalistic integrity when it comes to video game journalism, or video game journalism. If you've been paying attention since the fall of print media in video games, and basically the fall of print media in general, with websites, social media kind of taking over how we get our news. When it comes to like video game news, especially and this kind of goes to other news outlets too, but especially video game news, it's people would rather be rather be first than right. So they're quick to post whatever they find before venting it, before checking sources, or doing actual journalistic work to confirm what they're about to print, post, tweet, what have you. And the inciting incident that kind of had Gene bring this to light, and kind of why I'm kind of covering it here on the channel, because it kind of blew up a little bit. I was coaching a baseball tournament all weekend, and I just kind of got home, just kind of unwinding with the family, watching a movie with the wife and kids. And I was kind of checking Twitter, and I just see Gene is just all over my timeline. And outside of big gaming conventions and things like that, I'll see a tweet from him here or there, but he was just all over my timeline. And the incident was this fake quote credited to Super Mario, Zelda, Metroid creator Shigeru Miyamoto regarding Nintendo's foray into movies. And the quote was, "Games eventually stop running after a newer version comes out, but films remain forever." It kind of sounds like a deep quote, kind of sounds like something maybe Miyamoto might have said, but in a sense it doesn't pass the smell test, because Miyamoto is all about games and gaming experiences. So where I could see someone at Nintendo saying this, Miyamoto maybe not being the guy. But of course this quote spread all across social media, led to various gaming sites, Games Radar being one of them, to do the quote, actually publish the quote, Shigeru Miyamoto said this at the Nintendo Museum in Kyoto, and things like this. And so they all published the quote and things like that, and because they all thought it was real, because no one bothered to do any kind of journalistic due diligence and check to see if it was real. And in all honesty, a lot of times you could just do a quick Google search to find out if a quote is real. But it's kind of basic journalism is you see something, you go to the source of who first posted it, and you see, who their sources are, where they got this quote from, and things like that. And no one did this except for Gene, apparently. And so after, Gene started calling out, various gaming sites, various, gaming bloggers and YouTubers and things like that for, running with this quote in real. Some retracted and said, "Our bad, we just saw this and just thought it was something Miyamoto would say, so we, tweeted about it, we posted about it," something like that. Other sites retracted their statement and said, "Our bad." They put a story. It was "We were led to believe this was true. We didn't do our due diligence. We're sorry. We'll do better in the future." And then others just doubled down on it, because it proved a point they were trying to make anyway. So well, it doesn't matter that it's not true. The fact of the matter is that something like this, and it's just ridiculous. And the only point it proves is that sites would just want to churn out as much content as possible instead of checking sources and doing actual journalistic work. I've just as extra side work. This channel's starting to take off, and I thank all 667 subscribers of you. And if you're not a subscriber, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment with what you think about gaming journalism in general. So not I've made some money off affiliate links and stuff like that, but not much money, stuff like that. So I've looked for like kind of just side work, extra work. I've got 3 kids now, so just kind of side work to do to make some extra money. And I've looked at some of these gaming sites, and they want you to churn out like upwards of 10 articles a week, and it's kind of like 10 articles a week. Like, are these going to be any good articles? Because if you look at like legitimate newspapers, you know, like most legitimate journalists and reporters, they do like 1 article a week because it takes time to research and get quotes and check sources and things like that. You don't just churn out news. Like, sure, when you're like covering sports and things like that, you can write like an article a day about the local sports teams and things like that because there's always something there. And those sources are super easy to check. You're not doing, I don't want to belittle sports reporters. I actually used to be a sports reporter, so I don't want to belittle it. But there's just so much that you can cover that it's really easy to churn out a bunch of articles in a week because you're not, unless you're actually doing like actual journalistic reporting, trying to get down to like the nitty gritty investigative journalism. You don't have all these sources and stuff. You literally can just interview a coach or a player, and that's your source. Perfect. Right there. But when you want to report on like actual things in gaming, like a game coming out or possible delays or games being scrapped or things like that, you actually have to go talk to people and confirm sources and things like that. And it just seems like that's not what these gaming websites want. They just want content. They want content for you to click on so they can have all these Google ads pop up. Like if you go to any kind of video game website these days, you are just berated with just pop-up, not necessarily pop-up ads, but just ads, banner ads that you scroll down. Like the ads take up like half the screen, and it's so hard to actually read the article, kind of thing like that. So they just want a bunch of articles posted, whether they're good or not. They just want a bunch of things posted because when you click on that article, they get a little, like, they get a couple cents from Google AdSense and things like that. And if you click on an ad, even if it's by mistake, they get a little more revenue, kind of things like that. So they just want the ad space, basically. It's not really about being an actual journalistic piece for video games. It's about content, just something to click on, which is why they also love these clickbaity titles, which I will admit I do every once in a while in my videos. I'm guilty of it too, because sometimes you don't want to bury the lead, so people click and read or click and watch, kind of thing like that. But I try not to do that. Like if you look at most of my things, very few clickbaity titles in this channel. Gotta do it sometimes to generate views. But they're all a bunch of clickbaity articles, and it's just kind of one of those things. It's like, if I don't know what the article is about from the headline, I am less likely to read because odds are it's something dumb. I'm like, ooh, this seems interesting, and then you read, it's like, oh, that's not interesting at all, kind of things like that. But we do live in this world of misinformation because with social media, with Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, all the various social media sites, you can just kind of post whatever you want. And if enough people like hear it, like they'll think it's real, and they'll post, they'll share, they'll retweet, things like that. Like a perfect example of this. This was a few weeks ago. I was just kind of doom scrolling on Facebook, and I came across an article that said second-year wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, Keon Coleman, rescued adopted 19 dogs from a kill shelter in Rochester, New York, or someplace like that. And I honestly thought to myself, like, oh, that's cool of Keon Coleman. He must really love dogs. And if you've seen his, like, I want to say it's Priceline ads. It's one of those travel site ads. And if you just see, like, interviews with Keon Coleman, he just seems such an aloof, nice guy that's believable. Like, I could see that dude just, like, walking down the street and just seeing a sign that 19 puppies were going to get killed. He's like, not on my watch. I'll adopt them all, kind of thing like that. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Good for Keon. And I kind of, like, I wasn't going to investigate. I wasn't going to repost it. I wasn't going to do anything with it. I was going to go to my grave believing Keon Coleman loves dogs. And then I want to say a day or two later, I'm on Facebook again, just kind of like, I think I was on looking at Marketplace. And I see the exact same story, except this time it's Washington Commanders' second-year quarterback, Jaden Daniels, adopting 19 puppies from a Virginia kill shelter. I knew it was false right away, two reasons. One, I live in Virginia, and we do not have kill shelters in Virginia. No animals get euthanized at county shelters. They're all county shelters. They don't kill. Kind of thing like that. So knew it was bogus there. But also, I had seen the Keon Coleman thing a few days prior, the exact same headline. Again, didn't click on the story. I was like, oh, well, this is bullshit. I was like, but I took solace in the fact, like, hey, at least this fake news is something good. Because usually when you see that fake news, it's like trashing somebody, slanderous, kind of thing like that. So I was like, because like I just kind of looked at the comments of that one, and people were like, oh, Jaden's great, love Jaden. I was like, it's bullshit, but at least, makes people like Jaden Daniels more, so good for that. And then a week or two goes by, and I see an article again about Keon Coleman that he was donating his entire yearly salary to school kids, or like Western New York middle schools, something like that. And I was like, that's probably one of those articles again, because where, again, Keon Coleman seems like a nice guy. Something he could do. He's only in the second year of a contract that probably is less than $1 million a year. And yes, even like the bare minimum, NFL players make like almost $500,000 a year, which any of us would kill to make. Given it's his second year, and plus you got to take out taxes, you got to pay your agent and all this other BS, kind of thing like that. I don't think he's giving away his second year contract. It would be nice, but that'd be something like if Keon Coleman signed a multi-million-dollar, multi-year deal, maybe the second year of that deal he does it. But so I was just kind of like, this is kind of BS. So I looked at the comments, and apparently someone had actually clicked on the article to read it, and the article just went to some scam website where it wanted you to enter in all this information. So that's why I was like, oh, that was my aha moment. Why would someone make fake news about a football player? Is like, oh, to get people to click on the article and try to steal their information. Now it makes sense. And then like a couple hours later, my wife saw the exact same story. I was like, oh, this is great. I told her, I was like, nah, it's all BS. Kind of thing like that. And I told you that story to kind of reiterate my point about just all it takes is one person to post something that looks legitimate and other people run with it. Now, the origin of this Miyamoto quote, I could not find, because a lot of things like Gene retweeted or commented, like retweeted, kind of thing like that. A lot of people deleted the original post, so I wasn't able to find the genesis of this post. So it's kind of like maybe it was something malicious, like the Keon Coleman nice stories where you click on the article and they try to steal your information to get you entering stuff, or it's just somebody playing a prank, something like that. Just like, oh, I'm gonna make up this fake information, because it kind of reminds me. Scott the Wasp talked about where he's kind of proud of it, like it was a fake DS that he made that with like Yoshi and Yoshi eggs and stuff like that, that he kind of made a leaked version just for fun and kind of thing like that, and posted it on a message board, and ended up getting picked up by, I want to say Best Buy used it as their example for this new DS coming out, kind of thing like that. So he did such a good job photoshopping that like an actual outlet used it. But it's just one of those things. It just shows an example of, if you make something look legitimate and believable enough, other people will run with it. And, it's all fine and good if you do it on message boards and, you just, for shits and giggles, make up a tweet, kind of thing like that. It is completely different, though, when people who claim to be journalists and claim to run legitimate websites don't check this information and just run with the quote. Generally speaking, like, I'm never first to break any news unless I'm live streaming an event and you see my reaction, because then it's happening, you all see it, as it's happening, kind of thing like that. But any kind of like news things I post on this site, I get from legitimate sources. Like I won't just pull from one source. Like, for instance, I'll watch Inside Games and they'll talk about, the EA sale to the Saudis. But I want to get all the information I can from when I do it. So, I'll read maybe an article by Gene or, Spawn Wave, some legitimate, like, actual sources. And as much as I don't like a lot of stuff, right, Kotaku does a lot of stuff, or Jason Schreier. You find, like, people who actually do legitimate journalistic work, and you pull from, you quote them, obviously, because whenever I do a news story kind of thing like that, I quote where I get it from. So I have a source, whether the source is another news outlet or I find a quote on Twitter from, Phil Spector or somebody like that. Kind of thing like that. And, sometimes I'll speculate on what things could mean, but I'm not making it up. I let you know it's my opinion that I'm guessing here, kind of thing like that, or I'm reading between the lines and this is what I think they mean, kind of thing like that. But yeah, if I'm going to report on something on this channel, you will know that I've looked into legitimate sources for this information, that I'm just not going to see a tweet from some random person and say, hey, Miyamoto said this, or Sony's releasing this according to this. At best, if I do something like that, it's going to be like a rumor. This is the source with the rumor. And if I have information of if they've been right on leaks or things before, I'll mention that. But yeah, just a lot of websites and things aren't doing that anymore. They just see a tweet or see a retweet or see someone they trust retweet something and they just run with it, kind of thing like that. And honestly, like, tweets are one of the worst sources of information unless it's from the source. Unless you see like Shigeru Miyamoto tweeting something, Hideo Kojima tweeting something. Don't just go off a tweet of someone saying like, oh, Shigeru Miyamoto said this. Source, trust me, bro. Kind of thing like that. So it is in a sense that like gaming journalism has taken a big hit, especially in this modern era, like not just about being first with stories and not checking and inventing sources, but it seems like a lot of people's politics too have kind of gotten in the way of games reporting. And I'm not talking about like one side or the other, because you've got both. You've got people on the right, you got people on the left who try to skew things their way. Like they'll see a game come out and if they represent the right, I'm not going to say they're on the right, but they represent conservative views. They're like, oh, that new game's woke because X, Y, and Z. Or those on who consider themselves the left will say a game's misogynistic or does the patriarchy or is racist or sexist or whatever because of X, Y, Z in the game without even playing the game. They'll just see like a teaser or a trailer and say that about the game. And we've talked about a couple of those games there. Like I'm playing through Alan Wake again, doing the final draft, and I mentioned it in my stream, and I had talked about it in my Alan Wake retrospect about Alan Wake being woke because Saga Anderson is a black woman in this, even though she's supposed to be I want to say Finnish descent, maybe some sort of Nordic descent. Trying to think, maybe Amsterdam. It's not important right now, but she's supposed to be Nordic descent, kind of thing like that. And in the kind of the teaser for Alan Wake 2 that was all the way back in Quantum Break, which was an Easter egg, a throwaway Easter egg. Saga Anderson, or they said Agent Anderson. I don't think they actually called her Saga. I could be misremembering though. I haven't played Quantum Break in over a year. It was a white woman. And they changed it for whatever reason. Some people like to say Sweet Baby Ray was Sweet Baby Inc. was involved in that change to make it more woke and inclusive. I'm still theorizing that the reason why Saga Anderson went from a white character to a black character, because as Sam Lake was developing the story for Alan Wake 2, he wanted to use Hatch from Quantum Break, but Quantum Break is owned by Microsoft, so they changed Hatch to Door in Alan Wake 2, and I think she has some sort of connection to Door. Whether that might be her father, because there's a mystery surrounding her father, kind of thing like that. But I think she has some sort of connection to Door, which would make sense that she's, part, Dutch, Nordic, and black. So I don't think that's woke. I think that's a storytelling element that we're either going to find out in the next Control game, maybe, because that's been connected to Alan Wake, obviously, in the Remedy universe, or the next Alan Wake game. Maybe some DLC down the road, maybe a completely new, like Alan Wake 3, something like that. I think we're going to learn more about Door and his connection to Saga and Alan and everything like that in future games. So yeah, just wait for the story to tell that. So that's where I kind of approach that. And I'll do on the flip side where a lot of left-leaning journalists will hate a lot of Eastern games because they'll have big booby anime girls in there, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's kind of like we all have a choice in games. If we want to see big booby anime girls, we can buy those games. If we don't, we don't have to buy those games. If we want a very progressive game, we can buy, was it Dustborn? I think that was that game called. But yeah, there are games for everybody. On the left, on the right, those of us in the middle who don't give a shit about politics and just want to play fun video games. There's all those kind of things where we don't have to bring in our identity politics into gaming to enjoy it. We just want to play fun games in the end. Having a kick-ass story is, a huge bonus. But in the end, when you think about some of the most popular game series ever made, you got your Super Marios, you've got your Zeldas. Shoot, you got Astro Boy now on the PlayStation, a fun platformer. They have a story, but, it's not that deep of a story. Like, the Zelda lore has been building over years, but every single Zelda game has a basic rescue the princess story, and they're fun. They're fun games to play. The Mario games, rescue the princess story. There's a theme with Shigeru Miyamoto here. And it's just a fun game to play. It's a tight game. It's, when you die, you died because of something you did, not because the game's cheap, kind of thing like that. They're just fun games to play. And in the end, that's what we want as gamers. We don't care about identity politics. But a lot of these people who call themselves journalists do. And they've put it in their writings. They've put it in their opinion pieces that they want to pass off as real journalistic work. And again, all these things just hurt gaming journalism. And I don't consider myself a journalist. I'm more of a commentator, kind of thing like that. But I do love video games. And as someone who grew up with video game magazines like GamePro and EGM, Nintendo Power, and things like that, I was very sad to see that media die, basically, because Game Informer was the last holdout, and it's gone now. And it's been replaced with a bunch of people who they don't actually practice real journalism. They took a few journalism classes in school, and they think they're some sort of brilliant Pulitzer writing person, and they're not. They're just writing opinion pieces, or they're just writing schlock to get clicks and ads because the editor of Games Radar or The Gamer wants 20 pieces a week by them. So it's just a mess. It's just one of those things that, I advise, like Gene Park, Jason Schreier, they do real journalistic work, reading their stuff, and then finding trusted voices, people that vent things, Inside Game, Spawnwave, RGT85. The RGT85 is way out there sometimes, but he doesn't report, like when he reports on rumors, he says it's a rumor. He doesn't try to pass it off as news or anything like that. Like those people quote sources, and they will report rumors as rumors. And generally speaking, they check things. They don't just blatantly report it. And if they do report something wrong, they offer retractions and things like that. So I would advise, finding trusted sources, finding people's voices and I hope I'm one of those. It'd be great if I was. But finding these people that you trust in the video game sphere, so that if they're going to report on some sort of news, things like that they're not just racing to their computer to report on it, that they've actually found legitimate sources that are also reporting on it. Because since I don't have sources of my own in the video game industry, I'm going to wait to see people like, Lawrence Sontag, Bruce Green, Gene Park, Jason Schreier, Spawnwave, all of them. I'm going to wait to see if they report or mention it, things like that, before I throw it out there, kind of thing like that, because they do know people in the industry that they can contact and, get quotes and things like that. I don't. Maybe one day I will, but currently I don't, so I'm not just going to run with just anything. I'm going to get my information from legitimate sources and see if they're talking about it before I go out there and talk about it. And if it is a rumor, I might talk about it, but it'll be pure speculation, and I will let you guys know that it is speculation on my part, that there is nothing backing this up, that this is just hearsay and so on. I will never pass anything that's not, properly sourced off as news. I just have too many scruples for that and too many morals. My parents raised me right, kind of thing like that. So, that's kind of the video, just kind of touching base on just, once again, it's just gaming journalism is just continually to fail. And it's really sad. Like, I know a lot of people love to see that because of the way gaming journalism has become a lot of identity politics. So those people against those folks love to see just the entire industry fail instead of just, the individual people or sites who aren't, doing proper due diligence and proper work. Me, whenever I see black eyes like this for video games, be it gaming journalism, video games, things like that, I wince a little because we've got such a fun niche hobby that is looked down upon by a lot of people just because either they don't understand it, they think it's for kids, things like that. So when we do have these bad actors, these bad things happen, it makes all of us look bad. And I really hate it when that happens. So keep the positivity coming. Keep enjoying the site. Keep enjoying video games. And report on news responsibly. But if you like what you saw here, go ahead and throw out a like. If you're watching on mobile, I need to check this out. There's things called hypes. Apparently those really help channels. So if you want to throw a hype my way, I believe it's free. If it costs you money, if you want to, do it. Up to you. But if it's free, go ahead and click that hype and like button for me. Help the channel out a little. And if you check in the or in the description and on the main page, we do have a Patreon now. It is just a basic $3 a month support the channel Patreon. Don't feel obligated to join if you don't want to. It's something I'm starting to help the channel grow. That's all we have right now. You'll get a shout out. Once I start getting Patreons, you'll get a shout out at the end of the video. Especially if we only have a few, I'll definitely shout you out verbally. But if we start to get a lot, I'll have to scroll like a lot of sites do. And then eventually, once the channel grows a little bit more, I do plan on doing some sort of cool tiers for the Patreon. Maybe there'll be like a sticker of the month Patreon, like Nintendo stickers, or just cool little like Japanese style stickers, video game style stickers, kind of like that. Just something fun for the Patreons, kind of thing like that. And then maybe I'll evolve from there to shirts, hats, things like that, because we do have merch coming. So we'll figure it out. We'll figure something out for higher tiers down the road. We're not quite there yet. We're not even at 1,000 subscribers yet. But I'm still thinking, turning this hobby into more profitability, kind of thing like that. So if you want to join the Patreon, or if you just want to check the Patreon out, links in the description below, along with all my socials if you want to follow me on those. But yeah, as always, thank you for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.